Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for being with us. I'm Will Dupree, coming to you from the KXAN live studio on this very gray, rainy afternoon. If you take a look out there, a lot of you may want to avoid that traffic that you see on I-35 there through downtown Austin. Voters overwhelmingly approved this big public transit system upgrade back in 2020 known as Project Connect. We have talked about it so much, doing updates every now and then, and today we're getting a new look at what this system could look like. And just to provide a little bit of a spoiler, the organizers behind Project Connect are unveiling 5 new options that kind of scale back the light rail portion of that, and we'll explain why coming up here in just a moment. But joining us right now to go through some of these new designs for the light rail system is our digital reporter here at KXAN, Kelsey Thompson, and she specializes in some of the public transit coverage that we do. Kelsey, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Will.
As we mentioned there, back in 2020, voters approved this massive Project Connect on the ballot. Talk about what it involved and what the organizers pushed with that initiative.
Yeah, so back in November 2020, Austin voters overwhelmingly approved Project Connect. It is a multi-billion-dollar mass transit upgrade system. It includes expanded bus routes, pickup services, as well as a light rail system. And that is basically what is described as a subway. But that was kind of the key selling point of Project Connect, and something that a lot of Austinites felt the city really needed as its population continued to grow. What we're now seeing are 5 options on the table that really re-envision and scale down the scope of that light rail system. And that came after several conversations last spring into last summer that saw high increases in projected costs for the light rail system due to construction costs, due to real estate increased costs here in Austin, as well as some scope changes and refinements based on public feedback. So last July, the folks in charge of Project Connect pressed the pause button on it to really reevaluate the light rail system and to get it into a more manageable and budget-friendly place. And now tonight we're seeing these first 5 options for the first time.
We're going to get into those 5 options here in just a moment, but I want to remind people what the initial project looked like. Kelsey, walk us through what we're seeing right here, because this is what voters saw when they went to the polls, or at least beforehand, to vote on this particular issue.
Yeah, Will. So what we're looking at right now is the total conceptual Project Connect system that we had been looking at for the last several years. You'll see on the map there is the existing Red Line, which is a regional metro rail operated by Cap Metro that goes to downtown from as far north as Leander. We also see those blue and orange lines. Those were the projected light rail lines as part of the Project Connect system under the original iteration. All of the purple you see on the screen is expanded Metro Rapid bus routes, and then that green line that you see is a future regional rail route similar to the Red Line.
All right, so this was the old version of things, and again, last summer they kind of took a pause, said we're going to rethink some things because of those increasing cost estimates, and now we're looking at those 5 options. So we're just going to walk through all 5 of them. Kelsey got a look at these from the Austin Transit Partnership. That's the entity that's now been established to oversee the implementation of Project Connect. So Kelsey, let's just walk through option 1, and we'll go through all 5. And please note they're all kind of different sizes. And if you need to find a more up-close look at it, it is available at kxan.com. So here is option 1. Kelsey, tell us what this shows from Project Connect.
Yeah, so this is option number 1. It starts as far north as 38th Street, and then it heads south and southeast down to St. Edward's Drive, as well as southeast to Yellow Jacket Lane. The big thing here is that we're talking about a street-level light rail, so it's not going to be underground the way a traditional subway system might operate, but rather be on the same level as vehicular traffic. What we see as well is that in order to cross Lady Bird Lake, there could be a crossing at either South 1st Street or along Trinity Street. There's little sections that you might see in a lighter gray called flex segments. Those are basically extensions to this route option if things like, cost projections or community feedback show that it's a viable option to add on to the overall route.
And here is option 2. Again, this is just one of the 5 that have been put out there today. What does this one show, Kelsey?
Yeah, so this one, it has a lot more emphasis on service expansions in the north central Austin corridor. You see it starts and ends up at the North Lamar Transit Center, and then it heads south along North Lamar Boulevard down to Pleasant Valley Road via East Riverside Drive. And again, similar to that first option, in order to cross Lady Bird Lake, we're looking at a bridge over South First Street or Trinity Street.
Okay, and then this third option is the only one that would get commuters to Austin Bergstrom International Airport, which was a big part of this project when it was pitched back in 2020.
Yeah, so again, this is the only option we see on the table going as far southeast as the airport. A couple others go southeast, but come up a little short of the airport. But basically, it would start at 29th Street, kind of in that North University area, just north of UT. And it again would be street level light rail services that would then head along Guadalupe Street, east to Yellow Jacket Lane via East Riverside Drive. Again, it's mainly street level. However, there is a tiny portion of this that would be elevated, so above vehicular traffic along State Highway 71, and that would be the portion that would then head to Austin Bergstrom International Airport.
Moving to option 4, tell us where this one goes, Kelsey.
So again, we are really concentrated in that UT north central area. It starts around 29th Street on Guadalupe Street. And what you see is it's going to head south past UT, cross Lady Bird Lake, and then head southeast to Yellow Jacket Lane, again, not heading quite as southeast as the airport. But we see a little bit of variations in terms of the grade level, which essentially means whether it's in line with vehicular traffic, above the traffic, or below ground. So what we see here is that there is going to be elevated light rail operations south of 8th Street along Guadalupe Street, and then as that heads east to Auditorium Shores, there's going to be some elevated sections and stations there as well. And then we see it head to the same street level once it gets past Auditorium Shores as it heads south to OLTORF Street via South Congress Avenue or southeast to Yellow Jacket Lane via East Riverside Drive.
Okay, so that one would go along South Congress there. And then finally, this is the 5th option that was put out there. Tell us where this one goes.
So this is the one that has probably the most extensive underground feature, albeit it's only a portion of the route. We see it starting at UT, just north of the Texas Capitol. That area, it's going to begin underground, so under the UT neighborhood. It'll start at 20th Street via Guadalupe Street and then head to south of 8th Street with one single underground station. From there, it's going to be elevated via south of 8th Street and head along Guadalupe Street, all the way east of Auditorium Shores with those elevated stations we talked about with the last option. And then it'll again switch back to street level services east of Auditorium Shores and head to Yellow Jacket Lane via East Riverside Drive.
And you can see all 5 of these design options at kxan.com. We just published a story under Kelsey Thompson's byline. She again is here talking about these new options for Project Connect. I guess people may wonder, they're putting these 5 options out. Will one of these actually be the design that is carried through with this project upon its completion? What did some of the organizers behind Project Connect tell you about that?
Yeah, so organizers said that one of these 5 options will be the final option. They are hosting an open house tonight at Austin Public Library's central location to solicit feedback from the public regarding these different options, weighing the pros and cons, and seeing what sort of interest the community have in either 5 of these designs. From there, that final design will essentially move on to get federal approval, and once that takes place, then it kind of binds it into being the light rail system plan of choice. We know that there are a lot of cost considerations that ATP, Austin Transit Partnership, has had to consider. One of the organizers behind Project Connect, Executive Director of ATP, Greg Canale, told me that they had to really weigh out some of those considerations and scope changes when it came to being fiscally responsible with the project, and these new 5 options are going to be to the tune of about $5 billion. So a little bit cheaper than the conversations we were seeing last year when costs were going up quite significantly.
And Kelsey, you mentioned again that executive director of the Austin Transit Partnership sat down with you yesterday to talk through some of these design options. Let's listen to a part of your conversation, and we'll continue ours here after this.
We've seen a different conceptual design the past 2.5 years than what we're seeing on the table today. For people who maybe are surprised or confused by that change, what would you say to them on that?
Well, to say again, I think I go back. The voters did approve a vision. They approved a revenue source, a budgeted revenue source to start implementing that vision. And what ATP, that was created after that vote as the independent entity that the voters asked for, have been very transparent and clear about how we're going to work through and start implementing that vision. What I hear loud and clear around the community as I am out and about is we've been talking about this. We had a great vote. Nearly 60% of Austin voters voted to invest in their transit system, in high capacity and in light rail. And moving forward on that vision starts today with these 5 options. And each of them in their own do what the vision said. It connects people, it connects destinations to people, to jobs, and we're excited about where we are on that. The best way to get to the full vision is to start with an initial core system, and we believe these 5 options get Austin down that path to a full-on vision of light rail and an enhanced transit system that Austin deserves.
We are back now here in the KXAN Live studio with Kelsey Thompson, our digital reporter and one of our transit experts here at KXAN, who focuses so much of her coverage on that particular issue. Kelsey, you've been delving into this, and the Austin Transit Partnership also shared some new renderings about how some of those street-level designs or other design considerations might look. Let's walk through some of those and just tell us about what we're seeing here.
Yeah, so this is going to be a look at some of those elevated portions of where we would see the light rail heading through various parts of downtown Austin and beyond. But we'll also see looks at what street level light rail looks like, because obviously that was a much different consideration now on the table than what we heard when we were thinking a lot of underground light rail.
Yeah, because let's just point out the initial projection was that this would go underground in downtown to provide some sort of underground system there.
Yeah, so as you're seeing on your screen right now, we're getting a first look at the vision of what a same street level option would look like, and how it would marry in with existing through traffic lanes for cars, buses, other vehicles passing through the city of Austin.
All right, and Kelsey has, again, broken down all the design options that have been put out there now, available on KXAN.com, along with some of these renderings that they've shared as well for what this system could look like. At this point, there is an open house that just began maybe 15 minutes ago at the Central Library in downtown Austin, and they are going to be collecting feedback from the community out there about what these design options, what ultimately they go with among these design options. How are they asking people to weigh in at this point, Kelsey?
Yes, well, so if you can't attend in person at today's open house, we have information linked in our web story online at kxan.com of how to see a virtual open house version. But of course, any feedback you have, you can send an email to input@atptx.org, and that will be the most direct way to share your thoughts on these latest designs. And for one thing I wanted to flag is that because these are such different designs, people might have the question of, is this really what voters wanted / approved back in November 2020? And my fellow KXAN reporter, Nabil Ramadna, will be breaking down the legality and the ballot language that residents approved 2.5 years ago and how that kind of landed us what we're seeing today.
We have got you covered in just about every regard pertaining to this particular project and the update that was shared today. But for now, Kelsey's got to get to that open house to talk to some people who are taking a look at these new designs and get some of their feedback on it. So Kelsey, thank you for taking the time for answering some of these questions and breaking this all down for us.
Thanks so much for having me, Will.
All right, everybody, you can read Kelsey's reporting right now on KXAN.com. Also access it on the KXAN News mobile app, so I will direct you to those 2 places right now. And you can also see some of our other team members as they report out some of these details too, coming up tonight on KXAN News at 5 and 6. Thank you again for watching. I'm Will Dupree in the KXAN Live studio. We'll see you back here at another time. Hope you all stay safe and healthy out there. Take care.